Checky, check, check. Microphone check. Good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the... Maybe we could kill that music. There we go. Perfect. Hello, good afternoon, everybody. Welcome to the 2023 Canyons by UTMB. My name is Dylan Bowman. I am from Freetrail, joined by our friend, colleague, editor-in-chief, Corrine Malcolm. Corrine, hello.
Hello, hello.
We are also joined by the man, the longtime pro athlete, great content creator himself, and coach, Mr. Sage Canaday. Big round of applause for Sage.
Thanks.
Good. So before we get to these guys, just a quick run of show here. Of course, there's a lot of racing happening this weekend, so our objective here today is to just set the context, build the hype for the amazing 100K and 50K, 25K, etc. that are going to be happening tomorrow. There are golden tickets on the line. This is also the North American major for the UTMB World Series, so there's a lot on the line for the athletes out today, and we are going to help set the context, like I said, to keep your experience informed and entertained. Before we get started, a big thank you to Hoka, who is helping us out with our coverage this weekend. Hoka is, of course, the presenting sponsor of the UTMB World Series, and we are going to be doing a fun contest on the Freetrail Fantasy website. So if you go to fantasy.freetrail.com, pick your top 5 in the 100K, 50K, and you missed your chance for the 100-miler, but still have a chance for the 100K and 50K. The top predictors will earn a brand new Hoka Tecton X2 trail shoe, which I think Sage Canaday would provide his personal endorsement for. And tomorrow we are going to be experimenting with a little bit of a live stream, probably starting at about 9 a.m. here on the Freetrail YouTube channel for those who are joining us digitally. So make sure you subscribe to the channel and stay tuned for our coverage tomorrow. We'll wrap things up tomorrow afternoon with a post-game show to just sort of wrap things up, talk about the golden ticket chase, look ahead towards Western States and the UTMB World Final later on this summer. Finally, stay tuned to the very end of our talk here this afternoon. UTMB is going to be making a big announcement. I don't even know what it is, but as soon as we wrap up here on the stage, we will vacate, and some representatives from UTMB will come up here and make what I understand to be a really fun, important announcement. With that all being said, of course, there are some big races happening tomorrow. There is also a big race happening right now. So we're going to kick things off with Corrine giving us a quick update on what's happening in the 100-mile race. Ethan, you can share my screen.
Yeah, so right now, if many of you were around this morning at 9 a.m., the 100-mile runners kicked off here in downtown Auburn. It's going to be a hot, long day for the runners out there, but they are well on their way. We've got our top men and top women already through that 30-kilometer mark, and both are pretty international fields. The men's field right now is actually led by Chinese athlete Liu Canhao. He's come through Browns Bar. He's followed very, very closely by American Canyon Woodward and then Spanish runner Gerard Morales, all through Brown Bar, followed by a Swiss athlete, Matthew Clement, Gabe Joyce from the U.S., Christopher Harrington from the U.S., there behind him, Lithuanian athlete in 7th with Harnal Suratas, and then Adam Kimball, local favorite from Truckee, sitting in 8th, Ethan Peters tied in 8th with Adam Kimball, and then in 10th, Bentley Reger. So your top 10 men are all through that 30K mark, and our top women just came to that 30K mark as well. You've got Alyssa Clark and Alexis Skrellin pretty close together, followed very, very closely by Annie Hughes. If anyone's been watching Annie Hughes, she is a very, very patient runner, so I imagine that she has a plan out there today, but she is chasing a couple exceptionally talented American women. Next, we expect a couple Brazilian athletes to come through there with Manuela leading that charge, but right now we only have 3 women through that 30K mark. So they're well on their way on a hot, sunny day. So we're hoping fast thoughts for them, but also maybe some water out on course.
And one of the themes here today, as we see here in the top 10 men and women, we have a lot of international representation here at the Canyons by UTMB. The women's top 10, 2 Brazilians and a Japanese athlete. In the men's top 10, we've got China, Spain, Switzerland, Lithuania, and Canada, in addition to American athletes represented. Sage, you've been here the last 2 years. You raced last year. The year before, you made an amazing YouTube video about the race. What brings you back this year? What are your obligations, responsibilities, aside from sitting with us today?
To watch all you guys out there. It's going to be really exciting just to see the scale of this event. It's a real festive atmosphere. Thanks, of course, to title sponsor Hoka and it being part of the UTMB series. A lot of you are going out there to earn stones, get those points, and it's going to be really festive this year because of the finish down here in Auburn. I think no matter what time you come in, there's going to be people milling around town. So I think it's a really exciting finish back here in Auburn, and this atmosphere is just electric. I love meeting people from all over the world here, and great course. You're the endurance capital of the world here in Auburn, running on a lot of the historic Western States Trail as well. So definitely enjoy the trails out there. It's blooming, it's nice and green, there's flowers out on the trail, but it's a challenge with the hills and the heat.
And plenty of poison oak. Plenty of poison oak. So if you're racing tomorrow, make sure you've got that Technu or Dawn dish soap or something at the ready for post-race, because I've run this, Sonoma, Way Too Cool, Western States, and if that has taught me anything, it is that Dawn dish soap is your friend. Otherwise, you will be a hurting unit later this week.
So I want to talk a little bit more about the course and what makes Canyons unique, but maybe Sage, give us a glimpse into your race last year. It was your first race back from some serious health issues, and you earned a proud finish. It was probably not as fast as you wanted to go, but maybe tell us about that race, where you are with your personal running right now.
Yeah, so last year's first big competitive race back, men's race was won by Hoka teammate Adam Peterman. We took it out sub 6 mile up the road here towards Roby Point, and amazing pack. That year we finished at the China Wall staging area, which was in snow. There's probably more snow up there this year, and with the fire damage, it's understandable with the course reroute, but it's a challenging climb. It wasn't as hot last year. This year, there's definitely more sunshine, more heat, which is always a challenge out here in Auburn and on the Western States course. But I was recovering from a pulmonary embolism, so I had some damage to both of my lungs, and it was a tough race. But I really wanted to reach that finish line and finish, and there was a ton of competition on both the men's and women's side. 100K last year was the longest race. This year, of course, we've added the 100-mile, which makes it different, really exciting. And finishing in Auburn, I think it's going to be a lot different too, and exciting.
Maybe quickly before we move on, what's going on with your personal running right now? Do you have any goals in the near future?
Yeah, I'm definitely want to go back to Chamonix in August. I'm actually signed up for the TDS race. Would still love to go back to UTMB as well. Probably jump in the Speed Goat 50K this summer. I've been slowly ramping up my fitness this winter. It's snowed a lot in Colorado, so I'm still skiing a bit. But yeah, definitely Speed Goat 50K, get some stones, move up into the mountains, and then enjoy the atmosphere in Chamonix too with all the races and UTMB.
You have at least a couple victories at Speed Goat already, so we'll be looking out for you there. Corrine, maybe set the context for the viewers and listeners here about what's on the line this weekend between Golden Tickets and the UTMB Major.
Yeah, there's a lot on the line this weekend. You've got obviously the Golden Ticket races. This has been a Golden Ticket since 2019, I believe. I ran it in 2018, the year before it became a Golden Ticket race. But so you've got 2 tickets for the men and 2 tickets from the women, last chance scenario into Western States. So there's a lot of people that are here to hunt that down, but because it is a UTMB World Series Major, there's a little bit more on the line as well. The top 10 from each of these distances, the 50K, the 100K, and the 100-mile will also get entry into the corresponding distances at UTMB, but additionally to that, with a written application, you can move up or down one distance, and so someone who is top 10 in the 100K here might be looking for that UTMB spot in the 170K. In August, someone in the 50K here might be looking for that CCC spot. So there's a lot more on the line in that sense, which I think is an interesting dynamic, particularly for the 100K, in which if all of a sudden the Golden Ticket isn't within your reach, but you're like, okay, I've got something else to fight for, I think that where in years past we might see people drop in that context, I think that will keep more men and more women in that 100K in the elite field to get that finish in order to still have that top 10 opportunity. And then everyone else who's here is going to be collecting those stones to go into the lottery. There's some age group stuff on the line as well. So I think it's really exciting in that sense that there's kind of a number of things that athletes will be in pursuit of this weekend, and we've had people that have been in pursuit for golden tickets a bunch this season. So there's like some really cool storylines to follow along tomorrow.
And one of the things, Corinne, I may be wrong about this, but I don't think there's anybody in the Canyons 100K right now that currently has a golden ticket into Western States. So in all likelihood, the top 2 finishers in both the women's race and the men's race will be going to the Western States 108 weeks.
Yeah, that's correct. Oftentimes these golden ticket races, there might be someone who either already has a ticket, doesn't need a ticket, doesn't want a ticket. Right now, that's not the case. We've got a lot of people who have come up just short recently who are definitely looking for that ticket. And then that also factors into that roll down. The golden ticket can roll down as far as 5th in both those fields. So if someone wasn't going to take it, you might still be in the mix a little bit, which is always nerve-wracking. But Canyons being so late in the season, I don't think as regularly we see people run it with the build up to Western States in mind. They might go to Black Canyon or Bandera instead because it's more separated from Western States itself. But being 2 months out from the race, running 100K in the heat, that might work perfectly for you, but that's also a big risk to take. So I think that in part is why we don't see so many already established golden ticket winners for 2023 here this weekend.
Yep, great point. So, Sage, back to you. You raced here last year. Maybe give the audience who's never been here to Auburn, never experienced the amazing trails here in the Sierra foothills, a glimpse into what the runners are going to be experiencing out there, if you can provide a description of the course.
Yeah, definitely. So you're going to be thankful that you're starting early in the morning tomorrow, because once that sun comes up, you definitely want to stay hydrated. But yeah, it's a nice atmosphere here at the starting line, finish line right over there. Starting nice and early, it's still going to be pretty cool. You're probably going to want to take your long sleeve or jacket off pretty fast. I think I started with a hat last year, but that needed to come off right away. It's definitely a little cooler last year, but as you make your way down into the trail, you've got a good amount on the road here heading towards Roby Point, so you don't have to rush too much. Things could spread out a little bit because you'll hit single track at that point, have a little bit of downhill heading towards the historic No Hands Bridge, which you really want to enjoy. It's iconic. You're going to see it when you're finishing as well, but it's that iconic bridge with all the views. You got the water. I really enjoy that atmosphere. I know Camelback's got a good fluid station there too, so shout out to that sponsor. But you're going to have a lot of what I'd say runnable climbs. There's a lot of kind of some single track, but also some double track on dirt fire roads. So it's a nice smooth surface. It's generally not super technical. You still have to watch your step a little bit. There could be some loose rocks, loose dirt, especially in the morning if it's a little dark still. But once that sun comes up, you're going to be able to see really well. You're going to get some amazing views of the whole valley here with the confluence, the 2 rivers, heading out towards Cool. It's just a really amazing trail, lots of greenery, except stay away from the poison ivy, poison oak for sure. But you'll get a good tour of a mix of everything. There'll be punchy, steep uphills that you might have to take some steps power hiking to pace yourself, and then you could let it fly on the downhills, but also pace yourself because it's still a lot of runnable climbing, a lot of runnable downhills, and definitely want to stay hydrated and fuel well for the heat.
Yeah. Thanks for that. And Corrine is a 2018 champion here of the Canyons 100K. Anything you want to add about the course itself? Thank you. Big round of applause for Corrine. Yes, only 5 years ago, Corrine, top of your game. Tell us about maybe that day, but also I want to hear from you on the course alterations, the mosquito fire, how that impacted the course here this weekend.
Yeah, so the course that I ran on was actually the original course where we started and finished in Forest Hill and ran 2 out and backs on the Western States course, down to Swinging Bridge, back to Forest Hill, down to the river crossing, and then horribly back up to Forest Hill. You become very happy that Western States runs the one direction and not the other direction. We had a cooler day there, but I think that course and then last year's course, or the last couple of years' course where you got that net uphill, plays to a different runner, so to speak, than the current course that I think, while punchy in places, has a lot of really good flowing terrain out there and is going to be overall, I believe, a faster course. The heat is going to be a factor that's going to slow things down a little bit, particularly in the 100K. I think the 50K is going to be screaming fast, but the 100K, I think that we're going to see winning times, even in the heat, significantly faster than the 2019 to now course. Again, there's that big burn, the mosquito fire last year. It burnt 15 miles of the Western States course, kind of between Devil's Thumb and Cal 2. That zone is going to be it's completely exposed now, right? We had some trees in there before, and that, well, is not going to, it impacted the course changes this weekend, but what that's really going to do is that's going to impact things like Western states where you're going to have 15 miles of exposure come end of June.
And it will be only the 100-mile runners that experience what we call Cal Street, which was impacted by the mosquito fire. Notorious section of the Western States course now gets even harder, and the 100-mile runners will be enjoying that today in the heat of the sun. So, Ethan, if you don't mind sharing my screen, I'm just going to add a little context here. As Sage said, it's a lot of sort of runnable climbs. There is almost 11,000 feet of climbing in this 62-mile course, so it is plenty hilly, even with the course alterations. You see, a lot of that climbing is sort of concentrated in the first sort of 65 kilometers of the race, and then it gets maybe a little bit more runnable. So potentially a faster second half of the race course tomorrow, which, who knows, might be interesting. I wanted to move on to the weather conditions, which we've touched on a couple of times. While I have my screen shared, I'll pull it up here for our viewing audience. We're expecting a high of 87 degrees Fahrenheit today. For those who are joining us in our live studio audience here, it says on my computer screen, which you cannot see, sunny, near record high temperatures for this time of the year. So it is unseasonably warm. So maybe, Sage, let's start with you. Talk about the weather conditions as a longtime professional in the sport. How does that impact your thoughts on performance and strategy?
Yeah, definitely feeling the heat out here today. And you want to drink often and drink early, and make sure you're drinking some electrolytes. Keep the fluid coming in. Keep eating, even though you might not want to at some point, but it's extra important also to pace yourself for the hills. You're talking about, the elevation profile. Last year we were finishing in the snow, and it was actually pretty cool, and we're ankle-deep slush for the last 4 miles, but this year will be another story coming back into Auburn, especially if you're coming in the evening and the sun's still up. You're definitely going to want to have some sunscreen on, get lathered up in the morning, and take those precautions. Follow the 1 liter of water carrying capacity, refill at the aid stations. Take your time. Realize that everyone's pace is going to slow because of the heat, and realize that you want to be very conservative early on, especially with all the climbing, nearly 11,000 feet in the 100K, like you said, and it's runnable and fast, but you're out there in the sun. There's UV exposure. You definitely don't want to dry out. So drink often, drink early, keep sipping, and don't forget to eat gels or other nutrition products either.
Corrine, as a coach, how would you advise athletes to approach this course with these weather conditions?
Yeah, I think most of us are coming out of pretty cool weather, unless you're from Texas or Florida. I think most of us are potentially a little underprepared for the heat. I just got off a tropical island, and it still feels hot to me here, but it's a dry heat, and that's really important because you guys can get wet, stay wet out there, and you can utilize evaporative cooling. It feels kind of crazy to be doing that in a race in April, but akin to any other hot race that's getting ice on you, that's getting water on you, that's getting into water, if it's next to the course, all those things go a long way. It might feel silly, but because the air is so dry here, you're going to utilize, again, that evaporative cooling. It's going to help pull heat off your skin and into the environment and keep you cooler, which is going to make you or give you the ability to eat more and drink more, etc. As you get dehydrated, doing those things becomes a lot harder. Akin to what Sage said about sun protection, you've got to be careful out there. Getting a sunburn is a good way to also feel like garbage. It's very dehydrating, and so maybe that's sun sleeves, maybe that's sunscreen, maybe that's a sun shirt. Be careful out there in kind of those exposed sections of the race, and then be patient with yourself. It might mean that you're changing your pacing strategy a little bit to be a little bit more lenient and great, and give yourself some grace. And then if there's any really long sections between aid, maybe you're only planning to carry 1 liter to 2 soft flasks. Maybe that means you carry an extra soft flask in that section that you're going to carry in your hand. You're going to drink from it, you're going to tuck it away, and then you still have another liter to go. That would be something that I would advise for any long sections of the course, particularly in the heat of the day.
Great advice from these two champion ultra runners. So let's get to the race preview of some of the characters that are going to be competing this weekend. Before we get to tomorrow's action, Corrine, you sort of talked about the leaders here today in the 100-miler. Is there anything that you wanted to add, or interesting characters with fun stories that are competing out on the race course today before we move on?
I think it's going to just be fun to I think that we've got 2 really good races going on. I think we've got international flair, and we're going to see that play out in the women's 100K as well. But I think that, it's a first-year race. we're gonna establish a new course record on a new course. We're gonna see some new characters at the front of that race, and so I'm just excited to kind of track them throughout the day and welcome them here into town, probably super late tonight.
Yeah. Sage, anything you want to add? I thought it would be fun for us to speculate on the finishing time, just because nobody's run on this course. But I don't know if you want to speculate on that or add anything for the 100-miler. But
yeah, I mean, I think with the competitive field, like you were saying, there's a good international flair. You've got, especially on the women's side, in the 100-mile race, you've got people from all over the world, and they're seeing how they stack up on basically, a 100-mile course. I wouldn't say, it's like Western States. It's not a net downhill like Western States, but it feels like it's almost just as hot. And you're on a lot of the similar trails and 17,000 feet of climbing about in the 100-mile. I think you could see times that would be maybe fairly comparable to like a Western States type of record run. It obviously depends on the snow conditions of the Western States years, but you could maybe see some finishing times in the 17, 18-hour range. I wouldn't be surprised for the women's field, and maybe 15 hours for the men.
Yeah, I was sort of thinking 16 and a half for the men, 17 and a half, 18 for the women, personally. But again, we're here just to speculate and prognosticate. Who knows?
Don't hold us to it.
Exactly. So let's talk about the 50K. Ethan, if you could share my screen one more time here. We're going to talk about some of the action in the 50K. Real quick, we'll just show the course profile here. Give it a sec while it loads. Again, 31 miles equals 50 kilometers. We're showing 5,600 feet of climbing on the course tomorrow. Corrine, maybe you get us started with some of the characters in the race of the 50K, which starts at 6 a.m. here in downtown Auburn tomorrow morning.
Yeah, it's gonna be fast and furious. I think downtown tomorrow morning. We're talking, even with some names missing on the men's side in particular, I still think it's gonna be very, very fast. I've got some stuff teed up on. I think we're gonna have some. So if anyone watched Formidable back in February, we had a really, really great duel between MK Sullivan and Kimber Maddox, and setting up to be a really great duel again tomorrow. But we're adding, I think, who we've deemed our favorite character in endurance sports right now, Heather Jackson, to that mix. I saw her running around earlier. This is, she came into the sport at a 100-mile distance. She's now run 100K. She's going down in distance as opposed to most of us who dip our toes in with a 50K. So she'll be racing her first ever 50K this weekend. Excited to see what that looks like. And then we were talking earlier this morning about Catriona Jennings, who's a masters athlete from Ireland, but has performed well at JFK, et cetera. She's good over the fast terrain, so I'm really excited to see kind of what this dynamic group of women brings to the race. I think it's going to be a really fast and punchy race at the very front of it.
Sage, anybody you want to add there in the women's field, or anything about the course that we have up on our screen here that you think is relevant?
Oh yeah, I mean, I got to give shout out to Hoka teammate Heather Jackson. Like you said, I think she's going to surprise a lot of people. She's shown her range at like Javelina, doing 100 miles, coming from multi-sport background, triathlete, and I think she's going to do really well. And I also grew up in Oregon running Kimber Maddox. She's an amazing mountain runner. She came up from the shorter distances, moving up now to 50K, but it's been on U.S. World teams. And like you said, MK Sullivan be really close. So it'll be a barn burner of a race. Really fast conditions on fast trails, and these are really speedy athletes.
Yeah, those two went 1-2 at Formidable with Kimber taking the win there. They both have already punched their ticket for the 42K race at Worlds in June in Austria. So excited to kind of see another duel for them. And I got to watch Kimber run OCC last year, and she just put in such an incredible performance there as well, like charging really hard, charging late in the race to be part of that kind of American, starting with third with Danny,
fourth,
dynamic. Yeah, so it was Danny in third, Kimber in fourth, and I think Allie finished
Mack in sixth.
Yeah. So, really cool to see these women kind of bring up the talent in the 50K, and I think we're going to have just an exciting race from them tomorrow.
We had Heather Jackson on the pro panel yesterday afternoon, and the thing that is so apparent with her is that she's just having so much fun with her life and with her training right now. And as we all know, there's an immense performance-enhancing adaptation that occurs, I think, when you're just enjoying what you do. So watch out for Heather Jackson. What a great character, great storyline in the sport of trail running right now, and in the sport of gravel racing for that matter. Let's talk about the men in the 50K. Corrine, get us started.
Yeah, so I've got kind of a list of men. We are missing Adam Peterman from the race this weekend. It sounds like he had a bit of an injury he was working through, and actually I was told that the injuries feels good now. Like he feels better, and like didn't want to risk his next training block by running a 50K on it too soon. So real big kudos to Adam to making that decision, because that's, I think, a hard one to make. But kind of in that wake, there's still a really strong men's field. I think led kind of highlighted by Hayden Hawks at the front of that, I would say. But he's going to be, I think, put to test with people like Eric LaPuma, who dropped down from the 100K to the 50K. He was on both the 100K Road Worlds team last year and the 80K Trail Worlds team last year, ultimately finishing 7th at Worlds. He has great distance speed, but really good short distance speed, and is coming off of a bunch of road training in Vermont. You've got Ryan Becker, who is kind of constantly like just under the radar somehow still. He's like
Stud. Yeah.
But like pushing the pace at this 50K distance at Way Too Cool, like year after year. He was just at Gorge 50K, put on a good run there. So it's like he is really fast. So good to see Ryan Becker in this field. My teammate Jeshrin Small will be racing tomorrow in a 50K to get his OCC qualifier there. Young athlete coming out of that Western Colorado trail team program that they run there in Gunnison. So really excited to see kind of him come up into the ranks. And then interesting names too. I don't know if Matt Seidel and Nick Handel are racing or not. They're Bay Area guys. They're super fast. And then the last person I want to add to that list is Tommy Sullivan, Reno athlete, MK Sullivan's husband. He is also very quick, and I don't think we've quite seen his like potential yet. And I'm wondering if tomorrow could be a breakout race for him.
Get your fantasy teams together here in the 50K. Corrine dropping knowledge. Sage, round us out here.
Yeah, I mean, I don't mean to play favorites here, but I would put my money on Hayden Hawks. I saw him at the airport. He looks super relaxed. I know he moved out to the Boulder area. Has been training a lot with guys like Matt Daniels and Adam Mary, who are in the 100K, which we'll talk about next. But super strong Hoka athlete. Of course, he came from that track and road background, so sub 14-minute 5K speed. Really fast 10K runner in college. He's crushed all sorts of distances, done well in Chamonix, done well in the international scene. 50Ks on this trail is especially going to really be in his wheelhouse. The only thing is, it's been a little cold and snowy in Boulder, so this is a little bit of an awakening with the hotter conditions, but everyone's got to deal with it.
And they start at 6 a.m. They start at 6 a.m. and we're saying they're probably going to be done before 9:30. So
good point.
We're hoping to get those boys out of the heat as soon as possible.
I saw Hayden Hawks here in the expo area this morning, and he made a point to tell me that he is super fit, and he actually said that he was bummed that Adam Peterman wasn't going to be here. The ultimate competitor, Hayden Hawks, was hoping he could do battle with his Hoka teammate, Adam Peterman, but that's going to have to wait until they do it again at Western States in a couple months. And just wanted to add an emphasis on Eric Laipuma, because I think he's really coming into his own right now, and maybe a name who people aren't as familiar with yet, but this is a place where he can continue to cement his position in the sport. 7th in the world last year.
No shoe sponsor. We got to get that guy a shoe sponsor. But it's one of those things where it's like, like he's, I think, really coming into his own as an athlete, and a super talented one at that. And so he actually made the choice to drop down from the 100K to the 50K because he got that nod to be on the USA team for June for Austria. And so instead of going for a golden ticket, which was his initial intention here, on Monday, I asked to drop down to the 50K. They gave him the approval to do so that he can focus on Worlds in June, and then hopefully this will give him that ticket into CCC or OCC.
Yep, another smart decision, just like Adam Peterman. I also just wanted to add another quick anecdote. You mentioned Nick Handel, your friend. He just got married. He just sold his business. So again, like Heather Jackson, he's maybe riding an emotional high that could carry him onto the podium tomorrow.
Yeah, super talented athlete. Yeah. Lives in the outer Sunset in San Francisco. It'd be really cool to see him have a good day.
Okay. The highlight race of the weekend, the 100K. Maybe, Sage, you get us started on this. Who are some of the athletes you're looking at?
Let's see. We'll start with the women's side again. International flair. You've got amazing runners from all over the world. I know Ida Nilsson, who's gone way back in ultra running. She's got a phenomenal history, so many great races, especially last year at the World Championships. But she's no stranger to running on this type of race in the U.S., but also in Chamonix. Super strong. I know she's been skiing all winter too, so definitely a really good runner. You have Yuri Yashizumi from Japan, who is a phenomenal athlete, has experience running the 100K, the I'm pronouncing it wrong.
Doi
Intanon, thank you. UTMB race, did well there, so she's got a pretty high UTMB index score. Naomi Brand, she was third at the Ultra Trail Australia 100K, and I think she's going to do really well. And then some top American runners as well, Addie Bracey, Abby Levine, another runner from Spain, Aurora Sio, who was also in that duel that you could talk about with the Tarawera 100K by UTMB. So really exciting women's field.
Yeah, incredibly exciting women's field. I kind of divided them in my head into like women who have just come up short on a golden ticket this year already, led kind of by Aurora Sio of Spain, Ida Nilsson of Sweden, Anna McKinney of Australia, and Naomi Brandis of South Africa. Ida coming up short at Black Canyons. Back here, she pushed the pace early with Heather Jackson there, so I mean, she's someone who I think has no fear of going out hard and strong in a race like this. We'll see how she does in the heat. Once again, training predominantly on skis, but getting in some really good running miles. We then also add to that list women who have gotten a golden ticket in the past, being Addie Bracey of the U.S. and also Camilla Mayfield. And Camilla Mayfield has dealt with like 18 months, 2 years of Achilles injuries, and is back, and I think is fit. And that woman closes like nobody's business. You do not want her anywhere near you in the back third of a race. She is the woman who had that absolutely insane sprint with Caitlin Gerben on the track at Western States. I've seen her do it at Lake Sonoma. I've seen her do it at Western States year after year. Like, she's coming back from injury. She wants that ticket back into Western States. And like, maybe she's not leading the race early, but if she is anywhere near the field going into that back third, back quarter, like, she could pick up a ton of spots there. So I would not count her out. But yeah, again, Japan, the US, Spain, Sweden, Australia, South Africa, this like really international flair to the women's race. And I think it's going to be hot.
Hot. Yes. Well, that maybe brings up an interesting point as we talk about sort of the international flair. Obviously, we've seen Americans have a hard time go from training here through the spring and summer over and racing in the mountains in the Alps in the summer in Europe. Sometimes it's also the same where we see the Europeans come over to the U.S. and have a hard time, especially in hot weather conditions, which we've seen at Western States a couple of times. Is there anything you guys want to add to that before we get to the men's field?
I was going to say, I think I might add that we've got some people coming from kind of like equatorial heat or coming out of their summer too as well, with athletes from people like from Australia and South Africa. So I would not put it past them to do well here in the heat, just because they've probably had more exposure than most of us. But I think that, you know, like, you're right, it is hard to make that big jump to a new continent and race and have it like all come together on that day.
Yeah, I mean, you're looking at, if you're coming up from the southern hemisphere, you're acclimated. If you're super fit, you're fit. You could do better with the heat, but still, you're making a long trip. You have to adjust to the time zone, the jet lag. You're adjusting maybe to new exciting cuisine. Just knowing from international travels, it could be good or bad, but it's definitely something that you could see. This race has now drawn in more of an international field, more interest, because those top 10 spots are up for grabs, and people want to be in Chamonix for the finals.
Great. Sage, maybe get us started and tell us some of the men that you're looking at in the 100K tomorrow.
Oh, yeah. So men's field, super deep. Definitely a lot of U.S. guys. I know a lot of guys from Colorado. So let's start with one of my friends, Matt Daniels, who just crushed the Gorge 50K. He was coming off some injury stuff a couple years ago. I've been out here spectating this race a couple years ago, but he's been training super hard in Boulder with Hayden Hawks, who we mentioned before in the 50K, but also his friend Adam Mary, who's an up-and-coming runner. A lot of people maybe don't know about. He's kind of flown under the radar, but super strong runner, definitely a favorite.
He won Chuckanut.
He just won Chuckanut. Yeah,
March,
New York course record time at Chuckanut.
Super fast.
Yeah, so that's kind of a similar type of rolling course with a lot of runnable stuff that you have out here. We do have an international runner, Sebastian Seffler, who was second at Le Templier, which is also a course that you have to be really dynamic on. You got to run fast. He's got a lot of experience racing in Europe, but definitely one to watch. I mean, my Hoka teammate Cole Watson, kind of the local favorite. He lives pretty close to here. He's been here a lot. He's been out on the course training. He's used to the heat in Auburn and Folsom area, so great college runner at University of Oregon as well. Then you've got, other guys, David Roach from Boulder, his famous coach, coaches a lot of athletes in these types of races. He's traditionally raced mainly 50K and below races, but moving up in distance, going for one of those spots. He's got a lot of talent and speed, and been putting in a big training block in Boulder specifically for this event. But then you got other guys like Sean Van Horn, who is also from Colorado. He's crushed Nolan's 14 before, came from a cycling and ski background. The list goes on. Justin Greenwald, Ryan Atkins. You probably have some more to add here.
Yeah, so on that list too, I've got David Laney dropping down from the 100 mile to the 100K. He was 7th at Black Canyon. He wants to be where the competition is. He told his coach, hey, I'm dropping down. I want to race the guys. So I think that's really, really cool. They asked him, would you take the ticket if you got it? And he said, yeah, of course I take the ticket if I got it. Very, very experienced at all these races. Another interesting name to keep your eye on is Brian Curl. He's in that great video that we put out earlier in the week doing that run in Buena Vista with Annie Hughes, who's out on the 100-mile race.
He's a neighbor of yours, isn't he, Sage?
He lives in Salida.
Yeah. Can't forget about Brian Curl. He, came up short at Bandera. He's back here again. He's really, really talented. I think he is definitely under the radar. Someone to keep your eye on. Yeah, I have my just coming up short list thus far this year is Cole Watson. He was one position out, I believe, or two.
Fourth at Black Canyon.
Fourth at Black Canyon. David Laney in there, 7th at Black Canyon. Brian Curl with that Bandera performance. Sebastian, who you mentioned earlier, I think he's also run Lake Sonoma.
He won TNF 50.
Yeah,
in 2019, the final
really
TNF 50.
He's really, really good on this type of course. He's gotten a golden ticket into Western States before. He dropped out of Western States last year, so I think he really wants to get back there. And I think when he does, he can have a really, really good day. I've got Matt Daniels on my list as well, Adam Mary, Justin Grunwald, David Roach, Sean Van Horn. Interestingly, David Roach coaches Adam Mary, Matt Daniels, and Brian Curl. So that'll be an interesting, I was going to say trifecta, but it's more than that, of men that know each other well, that train together. I know that they're all out here for their own individual goals, but I'm really curious to see how that plays out as far as supporting each other out there, as far as saying, hey, come on, man, let's go.
Yep.
I think that's a super interesting dynamic. I want to see them all obviously crush it. But yeah, it's kind of that knocking at the door group, including that. I got to watch Adam Mary run Chuckanut firsthand. I was up there in Bellingham for it. Helping to crew a couple guys, and it was wild. They were all in the mix, and then Adam was so strong closing on the final 10 kilometers of kind of gravel bike path. He's got wheels, and he's on the up and up, right? Having that confidence boost on the up and up is a huge deal, and so he's ready for a breakthrough. Matt Daniels is darn near ready for a breakthrough. I think he's had a tough couple of years, and he's really kind of on that upswing as well. And
with an absolutely insane and bizarre and remarkable performance at the Gorge 50K, 12 minutes back at halfway, won by 3 minutes. So he basically ran the second half of the race 15 minutes faster than anybody.
He's a sub 4 minute miler.
Yeah.
That is some serious.
And we got to give him a shout out. It's Matt Daniels' birthday today. Matt Daniels, happy birthday,
Matt.
Gonna celebrate with 100K tomorrow. Anything you want to add on the men, Sage?
Oh, yeah. Like you said, a lot of those guys in the Colorado contingent, they all train at altitude. We haven't been used to maybe this heat. We've been training through some slushy snow conditions, but you've got the altitude factor. You're used to the sunshine beating down on you. And like you said, these guys have wheels. Matt Daniels, Adam Mary.
Cole Watson. I did the math.
Yeah.
Cole Watson, I think, has missed a golden ticket 4 times.
Yeah.
Amazing.
By a spot.
Yeah.
That dude, he's not owed anything. None of us are owed anything, but I would love to see him get a ticket.
I want to get back to the Colorado thing, but maybe sticking on Cole here for just a second. For those who didn't watch the video that we at Freetrail put out a couple of days ago, shout out Ryan Thrower for making a beautiful video about Cole. he's such a sweet guy, a humble guy, but he made a point of saying that, man, he really doesn't want to be the guy who comes up short, and he doesn't want to like have the ticket passed down to him. He really wants to break the tape and earn that ticket here on his home trails representing the Sacramento area. So look out for Cole Watson tomorrow. Back to the Colorado subject. I have a few storylines here before we sign off that I'll just sort of lob up and get you guys to weigh in on. But Boulder, man, it's been on fire, the crew that lives there. So, and just looking at the start list across different distances, I know we have Hayden Hawks, Matt Daniels, Adam Mary, Addie Bracey, David Roche, Abby Levine. I'm probably missing a couple there. Sage, you lived in Boulder for a little while. Maybe talk about
what's in the water.
Yeah, what's in the water there, and like talk about like the power of having that community and people to train with, and more generally, just like what's happening in Boulder right now.
Yeah, I mean, it's always been an endurance mecca, much like Auburn, California here, endurance capital of the U.S. So it's accessibility to trails is a huge thing, but then also supporting the athletic lifestyle, whether you're into mountain biking or hiking or climbing a 14er. People don't look at you like you're ridiculous if you show up all sweaty in your running clothes at a restaurant or coffee shop. It's kind of part of the culture. So I think that kind of energy, that kind of community really feeds into motivation for training and having teammates. Even if you're sponsored by a different shoe company, these guys are sponsored by different brands a lot of times. They come together as friends because running unites them, and it's your buddy, your running group motivates you to get out the door. There's a lot of running groups in Boulder, and there's a lot of accessibility to bike paths, but also a lot of vertical gain. You could go straight out the door towards Chautauqua Park up on the hill, and you could be doing hill repeats on dry trails. You could get up top. We did have quite a bit of snow even last week. It snowed a couple inches in Boulder earlier this week, so they do have to deal with that. But you have the altitude advantage, and training up there, you definitely could build a lot of fitness and a lot of synergy, I think, with these groups of runners you see. And even in the heart of Colorado, out where I live, just south of Annie Hughes, you see runners like her and Courtney DeWalter getting together, and Brian
Devin
Curl
Yanko
and
lives there,
Devin
Anna Mae
Yanko,
Flynn.
Anna Mae Flynn.
The Salida to Boulder, and Leadville
Corridor.
trifecta is like it seems like a great place to be and train.
Yeah. It's beautiful. We're very fortunate.
So another storyline here I want to ask you guys to weigh in on. Corrine sort of touched on it earlier, but typically in hot weather races, you expect to see carnage, especially when there's a lot on the line, where people are probably pushing hard early, taking risks. But as you said, Corrine, there's more than just golden tickets on the line. There's tickets to the UTMB World Final in Chamonix. Is there anything you want to say about, the potential carnage and attrition in the professional ranks, and how those carrots at the end of the sticks might be evolving in the athlete's head throughout the day?
Yeah, I mean, I think anyone that's in the 100K wants that golden ticket, but I think having that really solid B goal of, hey, if I stick this out, if I hold on, if I just keep moving, like maybe I can hold on for that top 10. I'm defending this top 10 position. All of a sudden, that gives these athletes at the front of the race a little bit more to hold on to when that first initial goal goes out of the wayside, but it's still a really hefty, important goal. Like, I honestly think that is unique to this race, and I think also I think that's a good thing. I think that gives these athletes a good plan B. It's possible that some of these athletes, maybe they already have a spot in CCC or OCC, et cetera, but so maybe it's that will not be that carrot for them. But I think for most of these athletes, having that additional thing to keep you going, to keep in the fight, even if you're not in that top 2, top 3 position, is hugely advantageous for getting the thing done.
Yep. So I've got our UTMB, our YouTube chat up on my computer, and there's a couple important pieces of beta here. Shout out to Jeff Colt. He has informed us that Sean Van Horn is not going to be racing, and he tipped us off to Phil Young, who I'm assuming he's saying is in the 100K race, a sub 13-hour 100-miler from, I think, Tunnel Hill. So Phil Young, Jeff Colt is giving away his fantasy team. So for all of you keeping notes out there for your fantasy prognostication, shout out to Jeff for that insight. One final thing before we sort of sign off here, another storyline that I'd love to hear you guys talk about. Obviously, we are likely going to be giving away 4 golden tickets to Western States. This is a hot, hard race that they're going to be doing. Therefore, it's probably going to touch the athletes deeply who go to the well to earn those tickets. getting ahead of ourselves here, how would you advise somebody who earns a ticket to recover from this hot, hard effort and take that fitness and confidence towards Western States? Because it is quite close. We're only 8 weeks out.
Yeah, can I say that historically that's not gone well? Like, historically speaking,
Adam Peterman last year.
Adam Peterman and Leah Yingling are probably two of the exceptions.
Beth Pascal
Beth
also.
Pascal had a pretty, like, the weather wasn't too bad that year. She didn't need the ticket though. She didn't need the ticket, so maybe not to the well there. But historically, that's been a harder double to pull off. The year I ran it again, it wasn't a golden ticket, but I got in off the wait list like the week of Canyons, but couldn't make the training camp. That's why I came out for it. But it's a hard double. You're going to go to the well. You're going to go to the well in the heat to get it done. We've actually seen that happen in track and field a bunch. I think trials going into the last Olympics being so hot cooked a lot of athletes, and when they got over to the Olympics, I think it actually like had a negative impact on their Olympic performances. Same thing could happen here for sure. You really need to like be, I think, cognizant and cautious coming out of this. Maybe you didn't have great heat prep. Maybe you really had to go to the well. I think taking some more than adequate time to recover, easing back in, like not jumping back in, but easing back into that next week of training, and then being able to ramp. You can still get a pretty good block of training in, you know, if you like in the back half of May, first week of June. But I would say there's no rush in the next 2 weeks to make that happen, and that should be recovery oriented, recovery focused, so that you can get that next like 3.5 week block in ahead of actually tapering for Western States.
Yeah. Yeah, I'd echo. Mentally, it's very hard. But for a lot of these athletes, making it into Western States, being able to toe the line is a lifelong dream. And so it's kind of this icing on the cake. Like, this is the ultimate qualifier. And if you accomplish that goal, you've already won in a lot of ways. So then it's a matter of, I want to get onto the starting line of Western States fit, but also just to stay healthy and realize that mentally, like you said, you're going to have to take a break, be extra conservative. Realize that, you know, your fitness training for this race will keep building into the summer, even if you have to take 2 weeks down, because it's going to take a while to recover. But I think mostly they're going to be so excited, so elated for earning a spot that Western States will just be the icing on the cake. And, you know, I think mentally that takes the pressure off too, because you know, okay, I finally qualified for this dream race. It's my lifelong goal. I have experience on the course now running in hot conditions, so I use that as a positive.
Yeah, and be like, what didn't I do well? Cool, we now have time to fix that for Western States, I think is a nice takeaway from a race that's 8 weeks out as well.
One of the things I was thinking is that hot, fast races are some of the hardest to recover from, and I think that's why we always see Western States winners and Western States podium finishers have a hard time doubling back and doing something else later in the summer, because I think, you know, when you look at Hard Rock, which takes 9-10 hours longer to run than Western States, so many of those miles are cool and so many of those miles are hiking. When you're on the gas pedal chasing a golden ticket like those athletes are going to be tomorrow in the heat, that really requires a lot more recovery than the hours on the finishing clock would reflect. So something for our golden ticket winners to take home with them this weekend. Take it from the old grizzled veteran. Anyway, thank you guys so much. Maybe just to sign off real quick, Ethan, you can share my screen one more time. Let's just give one more final update on the 100-mile race. I just dropped a link to the live tracker in our YouTube chat, so our friends who are watching us at home can make sure they stay up to date at live.utmb.world for the rest of race weekend.
We're still waiting for them to get to Brown's Bar too, so
okay.
They're still 30-ish minutes out from there, I believe.
Okay, so not much of an update to keep you updated on now, so we'll go ahead and sign off. Just a couple last words before we take off here today. Again, thank you so much to Hoka for making our coverage possible this weekend. Make sure you get your fantasy picks in at fantasy.freetrail.com for your chance to earn a Hoka Tecton X2 trail shoe. At 5 p.m. this afternoon, Katrine and Michelle Poletti, the founders of UTMB, are going to be here doing a fireside chat. So if you have any questions for the founders of UTMB, you can come over here at 5 p.m. and ask them yourselves in person. And for now, we are going to sign off. On behalf of Corrine Malcolm, Sage Canaday, I'm Dylan Bowman. Don't go anywhere. We do have an announcement coming from UTMB immediately after we exit the stage, which will keep live streaming. So stick around, but thanks for joining us.
Bye, team.
Bye.
Thanks, everybody. And also, I just want to mention we are planning to go live also on the Freetrail YouTube channel at 9 a.m. tomorrow with some updates from the 100K and 50K. We're planning to bring the winners from the 50K up on stage, do some short interviews tomorrow morning. So delay your long runs. Hit the subscribe button and join us all weekend here on the Freetrail YouTube channel.
Alrighty, ladies and gentlemen, just a few more moments here. We have an exciting announcement as we gather on stage together here. So here at the UTMB World Series, we strive to put on the best events in the entire world. And as the series continues to grow, we love to unveil exciting announcements all over the world. And to speak to that a bit more, I'd like to introduce you to Paul Huddle from the Global Operations Team at UTMB in North America. So Paul?
Great. Thanks a lot, Nick, and thanks for everything you do today. And yeah, thank you. Also, I want to give a quick shout out to Dylan and the Freetrail crew, who you guys just got to watch, and I know a lot of you follow. I certainly listen to his podcast, so thanks a lot for that, Dylan. So it really gives me great pleasure, and it's an honor to announce that the newest race that will be joining the UTMB series in North America is the Kodiak Ultramarathons in Big Bear Lake, California. And we couldn't be more thrilled. If you haven't been there, I think everybody in LA, San Diego area knows Big Bear for skiing, knows Big Bear for running, for trail running, for snowshoeing, snowboarding, all the stuff that you like to do in the mountains that happens in Big Bear. Beautiful, beautiful, iconic place, and fits perfectly with our UTMB portfolio. So again, the race will be October 13th to 15th, and there will be 5 distances, and the distances will be 10K. Oh, there goes the sign. Will be 10K, half marathon, as we know it here in the U.S., 21K for those working in the metric system. And then the 50K, 100K, and 100 miler. So all 3 distances covered. And one of the biggest pleasures in announcing this is sort of reestablishing a relationship that I had a long time ago with this woman's husband in the adventure racing world. And he since got into ultra running, and they got married, and there's a long story there. But Susie Schmelzer is the race director and owner, and she is absolutely phenomenal. And you guys probably know her in this community, so I'm going to pass the mic over to Susie. Susie, congratulations, and it's so exciting to have you as a part of the family.
Wow, thank you, Paul. That was great. Yes, my husband Harold and Paul, I guess, did adventure racing back in the 90s. Back before electricity. He said back before electricity. Well, yeah, we're super excited at the Kodiak to join the UTMB World Series. We wanted to tell you a little bit about Big Bear Lake. Paul already mentioned my husband Harold. He's actually out on the course here right now running the 100-miler, so he couldn't join us, but he will be at the finish line sometime tomorrow morning. We'll see him. We've been involved with the Kodiak for about 10 years now. We've been involved ever since year one in 2013. Big Bear Lake, a little bit about Big Bear Lake. It's a quaint little mountain town in Southern California at 7,000 feet. We've got a small village in downtown. The race takes place there. It's about a 2-hour drive from LA if you're lucky with no traffic. And we've got a festival with food, vendors, beer, all like in the heart of the Big Bear Village. The course is I love it. It's one big loop that circumnavigates the Big Bear Valley, which the 100-mile course, and with the center being Big Bear Lake. And as Paul mentioned, we've got the 100-mile, 100K, 50K, half marathon, and 10K throughout the whole weekend. And one thing I love about Big Bear is the variety of landscapes that we have there. Like, you could be running through the pine forest in the morning, and then in the evening you're running through the high desert and going past Joshua trees. So there's really a great variety out there. It's a great course, and we really can't wait to see you in Big Bear Lake.
Incredible. Well, we're excited. Make some noise for that. Yeah. In addition, we have Michelle and Katrine Paletti, the co-founders of UTMB, here with us on stage. What does it mean to bring this event into the series?
We are really happy because we discovered the place, and we met, thanks to Paul, we met Susie and Harold some days ago, and it was a wonderful place where we find quite the spirit of Chamonix in this place. It was like a little town, but really as a city, as a village with a lot of cafe, restaurant, and maybe some stores, many things to do. And we discovered with a beautiful lake, by the way. And it's always very great satisfaction because we saw that Harold and Susie are quite the same than us as a couple to manage a race with maybe the same thing. Harold is a runner, and Michelle is the runner, and she speaks a lot, and I speak a lot, you know. So because of that, I think many things are similar, and absolutely welcome to Big Bear Lake by UTMB race in fall, I think. Yes, in next fall.
Thank you so much. We are so excited to have this race
Michelle?
here. And Michelle, would you like to say a few words as well?
Oh, maybe just some words of, as Katrine said, she's the one who talks in the family. But I recognize it seems to be a little bit the same thing with Susie and Harold. No, just to say that we have spent 2 weeks here in the US. I've been delighted to run in Freetrail, Colorado 2 weeks ago. Here we are in the place where everything started here in Auburn. And we had the chance to have a short visit in Big Bear Lake, and it's also an amazing place. And so, yes, and I just waiting to go again and to stay in Big Bear Lake to run all of the trails around the lake, just to say this.
Thank you so much, Michelle. We are so lucky to have you here with us in the States at these events. So thanks for coming and visiting us. To all of you here on site, we do have pre-sale available for the Kodiak Ultra Marathons by UTMB here in the pre-sale tent. So check that out today here in the expo to sign up. We'll also have some information in the start-finish area tomorrow for race day. You're going to be able to get the lowest price on that event for the 2023 race. And if you register on site, you can get a free t-shirt while supplies last. So, time to sign up. We also have the website released, and you can check out all the information regarding this incredible race. Again, thank you to all of you for joining us on stage. We're super excited at the UTMB World Series to produce this event. So thank you to all, and thank you to all who have listened to this announcement.
Thank you, Nick.